One of the reasons that it's not going to be decided on election night is because we've had so much focus on absentee ballots lately. And different states have different laws when it comes to how they count their absentee ballots. So, for instance, there are some states that count ballots upon receipt. So they get them in the mail and they can verify the signatures, which is a lengthy process, and then they can go ahead and count them. But not all states operate that way. So, for instance, states like Georgia, Alabama, once they receive the ballots, they can do the signature, the verification, but they can't actually count them until the day of the election. So that takes some time to do that. And even within the state, you're going to see some variation as well. I saw a report about Fulton County where they have a huge arena where they've got all their ballots out and they're doing the verification, and they anticipate being finished counting their absentee ballots a day after the election. Whereas neighboring DeKalb County is saying they don't have the facilities to be able to do that. So it could take them somewhere up to a week after the election to count their ballots. So not only is there variation among the states, but there's also variation among the local governments that are putting on these elections. Alabama's one, Indiana's one, Michigan, and Mississippi. They also wait until the day of the election to count the ballots. And not only that, but when I was mentioning the verification, the signature verification, some of these states aren't allowed to even start the signature verification process until election day. So that takes even longer in the process to do that.
So
Whereas even if you have a state that has to start the day of the election, if they can kind of get the ballots ready before the elections, when they look at the signature verifications, they're checking to make sure that your signature is the same on your ballot as it is on your driver's license. That's actually one of the things that slips people up when they turn in their absentee ballot. They don't sign their signature in the same way that's recognizable from their driver's license or from their ID, and that becomes a problem. So that's what people are looking for. Different states have different rules. I know the Supreme Court came out with a ruling the other day with Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was worried about being able to count absentee ballots after a certain period of time, and the Supreme Court gave them the go-ahead essentially to continue counting absentee ballots 3 days after the election, and even counting ballots that were postmarked or the postmark was not evident. Like you couldn't tell if it had been postmarked on the day of the election. So things like that are happening in different states. States are trying to push for more time to process absentee ballots because they're anticipating that there's going to be a lot more absentee ballots going forward. And it's certainly possible that someone could come out during election night and claim victory. But I will say to people, I know there is this push towards what we're used to, which is that we go to bed on election night knowing who the president will be. But this time, I would say to people, make sure that you are prepared, that this might take a little bit longer, and also be patient moving forward, because chances are we won't know before we go to bed on election night who the president is.